Hi there, Dr. Jose Ramos. It's great to have you here, and I'm a bit empathic for you. You've got a head cold
Great
or
to be here.
something, so I will, we'll cut you a bit of slack,
Thank you.
and so on. But yeah, really, thank you for joining us. This is for our Futures 101 course, and it's basically a little conversation
Pleasure.
to get a grip on how you function as a futurist. Is it all you do, or are you multitasking? Of course, you multitask because you're a father and a husband, and all that stuff. But at another level,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe you've got a portfolio of things that you
Mm,
engage with. So, first of all, just rather than me introducing you with a kind of
yeah.
formal CV, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you
Mm,
introduce yourself to, the bloke down the road, or if you're selling yourself for a contract or something, what might you say?
yeah. Okay. Well, personal introduction. I'm Mexican, born and raised in California. I left the U.S. when I was about 24. Never went back. Um, and lived in a few different places, and then found my way to Australia. So I was in East Asia, Taiwan, and Japan, and then I ended up here, um, falling into, falling falling um, falling in love and falling into a relationship. Um, so yeah, I got two children here, and we live in Central Victoria, Australia.
Fantastic.
Um,
You're
I
talking
think
about,
mm.
sorry, go on, Jose.
No, you go.
No, no, I was just picking up on something you said.
Yeah,
You said falling, 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 falling in love. And it reminded me of Bayo Kamalafe's, the African scholar slash, public intellectual, who said falling is kind of like flying without coordinates. So I like that.
yeah. You just want like a, trampoline to catch you, not go splat. So I
Exactly,
think that's the
exactly.
if you want to finish the metaphor.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
Uh,
Jose, I know that you did a PhD in futures studies, and you actually did such a good one that you won an award for it, which I think is
yeah.
remarkable. So tell us how you got into futures, please. What brought you into the
Sure.
field? Was it a chance meeting with somebody? A number of people have chance meeting stories. Others
Uh,
have just sort of,
no, it was yeah. Look, I've been a searcher from a very early age, and I started a practice in my late teens, probably when I was 19, and I started journaling religiously, fanatically, meaning I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss a day. You know how some people don't miss a day of yoga or meditation. I wouldn't miss a day of journaling.
yeah,
I was extremely disciplined, and that process of journaling was uh, a process of self-discovery, of finding out the things that I was thinking about. I think it surfaced a lot of the issues that a young person is grappling with and being
yeah,
challenged with.
yeah,
But I also think it begins to tap into a sense of purpose. Like what am I going to do with this time I have,
yeah,
and and what's important for me. So that journaling could meander. It could be more intentional, but it went for probably a good over a decade, probably about 11 years. And it led me into a few different places. It led me into, when I was backpacking in a few different places. I remember actually being in Gibraltar, just outside of Gibraltar, in a little camp with a lot of Gibraltese. I don't know how you say that. Uh, and Yeah, they're interesting people, because they spoke Spanglish.
mm,
Uh, they wore a lot of earrings. The men and the women.
okay,
They look
yeah,
like
mm,
kind of modern day pirates.
mm-hmm,
It was an interesting experience, but I do remember um, a very strong intuitive voice telling me to study the future,
mm,
and uh, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. So I wrote it down. I said, okay, this is interesting data. You
yeah,
know, intuition can have data,
I love
Kenny
that. I
data.
love that. I'm totally with you. Totally
Yeah.
with you.
And so that data, you know, oftentimes that intuitive data is a weak signal as well, meaning, well, it's a blip. It's a blip on the radar. What the hell does it mean? And if you continue to investigate that blip, you might find something interesting.
Yeah.
So I continued to investigate the blip. I actually went back to live with my dad for a few months in not Alhambra, in Monterey Park in Los Angeles,
Yep.
and just to kind of find out what the what's this futures thing. It wasn't even futures; it was just future. And I started calling around, different. This is before Google. Started calling around different universities, and I asked them, "Do you study the future?" And most of them just thought I was a total crackpot.
Yeah.
And then I did run into somebody at the Monterey Institute for Global Studies, and they said, "Oh yeah, no, I've heard of something like this. You should talk to Hawaii. You should go to there's somebody in Hawaii. I think his name is blah blah blah, right?" So before you knew it, I was on the phone with Jim Dater and asking him about the program, and he told me a few different things. He asked me if I had a social science background. I kind of felt slightly interrogated as well. I was like, no, I've just got this fancy comparative literature background,
Yeah.
which doesn't really compare.
Yeah.
And that led me, and then he said, "Oh, and we're much better than the Houston program."
Yeah.
And then I said, "Oh, well, thanks for that." I didn't thank him for that information, but I knew there was a second program. And then I checked out that other program, but I didn't have the money for the course. So I ended up, I wanted to learn Chinese, and I ended up deciding to go to Taiwan to learn Chinese.
Yep.
And save some money because I didn't have the money for a master's degree. So we're I don't know what the word is. We're middle class, right? I'm not a trust fund baby. So I went to Taiwan to start. I started working in different computer companies, saving the money, and then I had decided. I'd already started thinking about doing this program. I had met my now wife, and I started thinking about doing this program. I met her in Taiwan as well, and because I wanted to come back to Taiwan, I decided not to do the Hawaii program, which would have taken me completely out of Taiwan.
Yeah.
I decided to do the Houston program, which gave me a summer intensive, and then I'd come back to Taiwan. And so I ended up enrolling in that. And then when I enrolled in that, I did ask someone there, I think it was Peter Bishop, is there anyone around here that I could talk to about this? And he said, "Oh yeah, you should." He by that time email was a thing.
Yeah.
And then he patched me into Tony Stevenson.
Ah, yes. Cool.
And then Tony emailed and said, "Oh yeah, no, so Hale's in Taiwan," and I lived in Shipai, which is the north side of Taipei, and he was literally about a 30-minute train ride from me. So I think within a couple of weeks, I went up and I visited him and Professor Guoha, and met Sohail and Guoha, and then I'd go up there every month, because I think Sohail at that point was, kind of coming in every now and again to run courses. That's when I learned about CLA in 1999. That was the first kind of connection points. But I'd say it was on the back of an iceberg. It was on the back of an intuitive journey.
Amazing, Jose. I've not heard that story from you, so I think that's amazing. It's a long and winding road. Finally, future stuff coming up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really really amazing. And so you were in Houston. You were with Peter Bishop, and Andy Hines was part of that deal, wasn't he, at that
He
time?
wasn't there at the time. No,
No?
I had Peter. Wendy Schultz was my
No.
101 teacher. You know, the foundation stuff. I had Peter for social change, and I had Oliver Markley just kind of try to
Oh,
blow our
Oliver.
mind. Yeah.
Fantastic. He's the he. If you want to go visionary and intuitive, Oliver's the man.
He's the guy. He's the guy. Yeah. So I think I did 4 courses, and so Peter was social change. Um, uh, Oliver was, I think, visionary, blow your mind,
Yeah.
and then Wendy took the kind of couple of the cores. I think facilitation. I think she ran a facilitation. What does it mean to facilitate?
Yeah.
She took us through some really cool processes.
Nice structure.
And
Nice
yeah,
structure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, so Wendy's a good teacher. She's a very good, face to face way to, learn about futures. I think. Yeah.
So we got
They're
some
all good.
names here
They're all really good.
just for the course.
I have to say they're all really good.
Yeah. So for the course,
Yeah.
you've got Peter Bishop, who retired and he started to teach the future as so he's got this kind of it's sort of a company slash NGO slash think tank. It's a kind of mixture of things. Very, very interesting. Wendy Schultz is now in England, in I think London, but maybe Cambridge. I'm not sure which of those two.
Yeah, yeah.
But she's still very active in the future. So Wendy Schultz, you can Google her, Google Scholar her. You'll find a lot of stuff. Oliver Markley, retired, now living in California, taking ayahuasca on a daily basis and visioning. And probably he must be close to his 80s or something, Oliver, at least, wouldn't he be, Jose?
Yeah, I think so.
So he's a senior one. Jim Data, who you've already met in my lecture, for instance, for this course, and so on. So, and Jim Data, he held the space in Hawaii. He was the principal guide for Sahel Inayatullah as he entered the futures field and got drawn in and so on. So we've got all these great names lined up, Jose. So thank you, because that's really very useful contextualizing for people. There's a big futures world out there. And of course, we're looking at the Anglo-American futures world. There are other futures worlds, like the French have their futures world with Michel Godet and people like that.
Yeah. And I also mentioned Professor Guohua. He was probably he was actually, I would say, the first person I met the first futurist I met, actually, because I mean, by email, Tony had, emailed me, and then, and Peter had emailed me, but in person, I showed up to Tom Kong University, and he was the first person there, and he welcomed me, and at the time, I don't know if it, I think it was a program of sorts, and then I think a little bit after that, Sohail showed up, and Sohail was the second.
Yeah, fantastic. Professor Guohua Chen, he was, and I think he's back in that role, but he was the chair for the Graduate Institute of Future Studies, which produces the Journal of Future Studies, which was the brainchild of Sohail, but certainly it's supported by Guohua. And then there's working with Guohua is Professor Mei Mei Song, who's a remarkable futurist as well, isn't she? Jeannie Hoffman, whom I've interviewed and you've possibly already met, I'm not sure which order we're going through this yet, but Jeannie Hoffman was there for 8 years teaching into that program.
Anissa Abdullah is there now?
Yeah, there's a bunch of people there. So you've got an East Asian sort of process there as well. So fascinating, Jose, and it's really useful because none of this has come up in any of the other interviews. So that's very helpful. So what do you do now? And tell us about Mutant Futures, because I think they go together, don't they? But the Mutant Futures is something that you run on an annual basis?
And I do like 1 to 2 courses a year. It's going to change in structure this year, but I have been running 1 or 2 courses a year. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell us what you're up to, because you do a lot of futures consultancy work as well, hey?
So I mean, the premise of Mutant Futures is that creativity, he needs to engage with the margins. I think that's the premise.
The margins.
Yeah, creativity must engage with the margins. Creativity is about combining new things. It's about exploring. It's about some risk, about experimentation.
Mm.
What
Yeah.
hasn't been done before?
Yeah.
So, the premise that I've kind of come from has been, we've got these big challenges, and we're not going to be able to meet these challenges with the old thinking and the old methods. And so it's about methodological renewal. It's about saying, we got these big challenges. We got to come up with something new. We've got
Yeah.
to, we got to rethink how we do this thing. Um, and then, to be honest, I originally just started doing it because I needed the support. I needed the peer support.
Yeah.
I think it's similar to Alcoholics Anonymous. They basically
Great
came to
analogy.
they came to the conclusion that they couldn't do this alone.
Yeah.
That they needed a sangha, they needed a community to hold the rigor, to hold the care. And so I came to the conclusion that I couldn't do this on my own, and I started essentially recruiting people who might be interested. Hey, I want to do this thing. It's a bit of a process. So yeah, so Rihanna Brown, Stephen Riemann, Mahesh Kandasamy,
Yeah.
and Charmaine Seville,
Yeah.
the first people I did it with, and we, I think I think I might have missed one person, but yeah, we ran it together and took ourselves through the process. And I think the one thing I learned very quickly is that if you don't do the inner work, meaning if you don't examine your assumptions about what's possible for yourself, then you actually can't do that methodological renewal. And what I mean by that is we create boundaries, psychological boundaries, about what is legitimate and illegitimate activity.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And so I had created boundaries around being a social scientist. That being a social scientist was where I play, but the artist was somehow disowned.
Yeah.
And so I needed to essentially kind of loosen that up. I don't think you just eradicate it. It's not like a purge. It's not like Mao's cultural revolution.
No, not at all. No.
I think
But there's something, it's got to be done lovingly, doesn't it, Jose? You've got to do it lovingly.
Exactly.
Dismantling the old structure is a slow process.
It's a massage process. It's a
Yeah.
loosening.
Yep.
You don't untie the knot by yanking the strings, right?
What about Alexander the Great with the Gordian knot? Chop, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, so many good metaphors there. So that's where Mutant Futures came. Is really intentionally about methodological renewal, creativity, addressing the big challenges of the era. I call them epic times. But you have to go, in a sense, you got to go back into yourself to do that work.
Yeah.
So it's one step back, 2 steps forward in a way.
Okay, that's a beautiful description. So if people want to do a Mutant Futures course with you, or a gathering, because I know you don't necessarily think of them as courses, what do they do? Do they email, or do you have a website, or what's the best way? Because I can put this information alongside this interview in our Bubble Up community.
Yeah, it's futureslab.net has the www.futureslab.net is the course platform.
Yeah.
So you can go there for courses. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm in the process of restructuring a few things, but that is there. So
yeah. Beautiful, Jose.
So yeah,
I'm looking at the time.
I would say that the rest of my work
which is both paid and unpaid, is a expression of the intention to do that methodological renewal to serve humanity's big challenges. Like one process I'm doing right now, I'm working for a global health public health organization.
Yep.
And we're looking at how we support the global south,
yep,
health systems to be resilient in the years to come. And we're helping to design a game process to that'll be easy to play for different teams around the world who are in the health area, to essentially use it to create understanding of futures, implications, investment decisions. So making it easy for people to think futures with a big stack of emerging issues cards, drivers, trends, resilience-based issues, something fun, something that will get them in a mode of play, but also is going to open their minds to the changes that are happening in the world and help them think strategically in a new time horizon. So again, like, that's how the direction of my work has gone. It's in that mutant futures sort of way.
That's wonderful. And later on today, I'm actually talking with Sherman Cruz. I'm going to be asking him about game as well, because he's got the Dreams and Disruptions game. But so it's been really good to talk to you. I have to draw it to an end now, but I'm so tempted to follow up, because you've got so many good stories. For instance, I want to ask you about the work you did on liquid democracy, but we don't have time right now. Any advice? You know, a lot of the people coming into this course are quite new to the field. They're curious. What would be your advice to someone entering futures today?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's an inner and outer thing. It's not just about putting on the armor and getting the compliance. I think it's about inner alignment. What matters to you? What are the challenges that you're inspired to address?
Yep.
What's meaningful to you?
Yep.
And what are the modalities? I just don't believe in the consulting modality as this kind of conventional monolithic thing. I think there's room for podcasters and YouTube influencers and people doing dance as you're doing.
That's my
people combining it with music or this and that. I believe in the in the hybridities. So really disrupt the modalities. Think about what you love. I think, my experience is love conquers all. If you find something that you truly love, you'll find a way to sustain yourself. And
beautiful.
And so start there.
Yeah. That's really good. That's beautiful. Beautiful way to end, Jose. I really appreciate you. I think you and I have a lovely bro sort of relationship. We really do connect. Whenever we connect, it's just this beautiful bubble. So I think I'll be coming back to you, Jose, and tapping on the shoulder
I'll be coming back to you too.
to expand on some of what you've just told us, but really very useful, because you did give us a genealogy of some of the key names, and that hasn't come up. So I'm going to run.
Okay.
Work to go and do, no doubt. And we will be in touch.
Okay. Thanks, Marcus. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
See you later.